Emily Miller is a celebrated author in Boulder, Colorado. She wrote her first romantic novel, Romance in the Rockies, 10 months ago, and it was a huge success. But its fame is now waning and shops are removing it from the display. Emily's publisher is impatient about her finishing her next book. She must write the first few chapters by the end of this month, otherwise she will be held accountable for breaching the contract. Emily feels helpless. She is stuck as the unwritten book has already been advertised and invested in. She can't brainstorm ideas when there is construction going on in her neighborhood. It is a romantic novel and she hasn't gotten over her year-old breakup yet, so it is hard for her to pen down a romance and love story in that state of mind. Her boyfriend left her because he couldn't stand her fame and success. Her best friend, Becca, is always there to listen to her and boost her morale. Becca has got a new job in property management. She has an idea. There is a chalet that her company is taking care of. Unfortunately, its caretaker had to take an emergency leave. Emily can fill in as its caretaker till he resumes. This will help Becca impress her boss by providing a substitute, and it is also a great opportunity for Emily to write in solitude. The chalet is called the Winter Palace by its owners, who reside in Europe. They haven't been here for years. The place is beautiful, on top of mountains. Emily has to do nothing as a caretaker except remove icicles off the roof and keep the pipes unclogged. Emily agrees excitedly and signs the contract. She needs something exactly like this to get herself out of writer's block. Emily drives to the chalet. She finds the inside warm, welcoming, romantic, and everything that she needs for a romantic novel of hers. She sits down with her laptop at the desk to type. Nothing comes out. She puts away her laptop and grabs the paper and a pen. Nothing comes out even then. She goes to sit by the fire with papers, a pen, and a bowl of popcorn. She isn't able to write. She starts reading a book on how to overcome writer's block. The first day is over and she still is stuck. She goes to sleep with the hope that tomorrow will be a better day. She wakes up to a knocking at the door. At first, she thinks he is some delivery guy or a burglar. She won't open the door until he shows her his passport and persuades her that he owns this palace. He calls himself Henry and he is here with his bodyguard, Fritz, and Chief of Staff, Ms. Tilson. Turns out he is a Prince of Concordia who is going to be crowned the king very soon. He has come to the chalet for a week to sell it off as per his father's instructions. Ms. Tilson is a stern-looking, responsible lady whose job is to ensure that the prince is fulfilling his royal duties efficiently. Fritz has a cheerful air to him. Prince Henry seems to have a good sense of humor, a kind face, and charming looks. Emily Googles and finds that Henry is really royalty. She stands up in respect and addresses him as Your Highness as his staff would. Henry makes fun of her bunny slippers. She runs to get dressed in proper clothing before coming downstairs to inform Ms. Tilson that she is packing her stuff to leave. Ms. Tilson reminds her that she had signed a contract to work as a caretaker for a week at the chalet, so she must abide by that. Emily regrets not reading the contract clauses before signing them. It asks for more than only removing icicles and keeping pipes running. She, as a caretaker, must do whatever the owners of the property ask for. Becca is sorry for putting Emily in this mess and asks her to come back. Emily knows her best friend will be in trouble with her boss if Emily violates the contract. She decides to stay at the chalet and take time out for her writing amid her duties. She hopes she comes up with something interesting to write about with these new experiences. Prince Henry has a speech to make at a diplomatic gathering. He asks for Ms. Tilson's opinion on the wording of his speech. Emily finds the speech too formal for the occasion. She makes a suggestion that Henry likes right away and thanks her. Ms. Tilson isn't happy with Emily's intrusion and asks her to speak only when she is spoken to. She goes on to update Emily of her duties. She should get the prince a newspaper daily. His personal chef isn't available, so Emily has to serve him breakfast and tea at a certain temperature. She is required to kindle the fire as well regularly. Emily jots down the duties and is clearly overwhelmed. Henry is on a video call with his father, who is a king of course, to discuss national matters. His sister, Princess Edwina, is more eager to serve the nation. She is covering for Henry's absence in state matters back in Concordia. The topic shifts to the chalet. We learn that the chalet belonged to Henry's uncle, Chauncey, who left it for Henry before passing away. A king can't own a property outside Concordia, so he must sell it before the coronation. Emily arrives with Henry's breakfast and newspaper. She isn't good at cooking. She has almost burnt the toasts and ruined the eggs. And on top of that, she annoys the prince by accidentally unplugging his computer while he was on an important call with his father. He is more annoyed when she requests him and Fritz to make less noise while fencing. She isn't getting sufficient time and enough peace to work on her novel. She can't find her ideas diary, and then she sees Fritz using it to light a fire in the living room. He didn't know it was her diary. Henry dashes to save it, but it is burned down to ashes now. He says she can come up with new ideas. Emily says ideas don't come that easily. Henry likes her straightforwardness. She laughs at the soot on his face, making him look funny and cute. Miss Tilson asks Emily to get croissants for the prince's tea time. Emily doesn't think the town market will have croissants. Miss Tilson doesn't want to hear any kind of excuse. Emily must manage. Emily finds a bakery, but the lady there makes donuts only. But she agrees to bake croissants, especially for Emily the moment she recognizes her from her first novel. The patisserie is in love with romance in the Rockies. After grabbing croissants, Emily goes to a grocery store to get some jam. Prince Henry happens to come there to meet a contractor. The chalet needs some renovation before going to an open house. The contractor charges higher for services and clearly rips off the naive prince. Emily comes to the rescue and negotiates over the fee. She makes the contractor bring it down to a reasonable amount. She knows how to deal with this matter since she worked as an accountant in a construction company before quitting to become a writer. Henry is impressed with her skillful negotiation and thanks her for helping. He has a gift for her. He gives her a brand new notebook to pen down her ideas. They are standing in the marketplace when Henry notices a gossip magazine Concordian photographer there. Henry wants to avoid him, so he quickly turns around and scampers to take refuge in a restaurant nearby. Emily joins him. The two have lunch and chat. Emily asks why he came all this way to sell the chalet when he could assign this task to one of his many assistants. Henry tells her that his dear Uncle Chauncey stepped down from kingship and built this chalet to spend his life free from royal pressures. Henry was very close to his uncle and spent memorable days with him in this chalet, so he wants to make sure that the chalet goes to the right buyer. It was Uncle Chauncey who named the chalet the Winter Palace. He was a kind-hearted man who offered his help to commoners in need. His chalet was welcoming to everyone. Henry loves the chalet, so he wanted to be here to cherish it for one last time. He asks Emily to help him in handling the contractor and getting the chalet ready for the sale show in the mornings, and she can have all the time in the afternoon for her book. Emily agrees. They set to work. Henry wants Emily to catalog all the unnecessary stuff in the storage room and give it away to charity. Or trash. Emily can't believe he is giving away antiques, beautifully molded sculptures, hockey, and a telescope. Emily can see that Henry has a sentimental attachment to almost everything in the chalet, and it is not easy for him to part with them. He and his uncle would play hockey together and gaze at stars through telescopes. The sculptures were made by Henry himself. He loves sculpting but gave it up for his royal duties. Emily convinces him to play hockey with her like he would with his favorite uncle. They set up a rink outside and play. Miss Tilson is bewildered. She tries to tell Henry that he has loads of meetings to attend. Fritz is happy to see Henry having a fun time. He can see Emily's light-heartedness rubbing off on Henry. Emily learns through tabloids about a royal family member, Beatrix, from Concordia's neighboring country. Beatrix is allegedly the fiancée of Henry. Henry tells Emily that it is mere gossip. Emily tells him about her insecure ex-boyfriend who dumped her. Henry and she continue to have a nice chat. Emily always imagined a prince wearing a crown and dancing in balls. Henry laughs. She thought that a king must pass away before a prince can become a king. Henry says his country has more efficient rule and that a king must retire at a certain age to allow a young ruler to take over. Henry commends Emily for leaving a steady job as an accountant to do something she loves. Such a risk requires courage, and she has it. He asks her to let him read what she has written for her new book until now. He finishes reading it and absolutely enjoyed it, but it is only 3 chapters long. Emily doesn't know how to continue further. Henry says he has a plan that might help Emily. It is a game he and his uncle would play to come up with stories. They have to add to a storyline while tossing a snowball back and forth. The idea does work for Emily. She is bursting with ideas for her next chapter. Emily sees Henry sculpting an owl. He seems to enjoy doing it. She wonders why he can't continue doing what he really loves. Henry says he is expected to rule his nation as a responsible king, so he is sacrificing his wishes for the wishes of his people. Emily can see the big heart the prince owns. She suggests to him that he should spend this week the way he likes. He should have fun and put official commitments aside. This is his last chance to enjoy a normal life, as he will be king soon and will be duty-bound all the time. Henry likes the idea. The next morning, Miss Tilson finds her new schedule. She has a spin class and a spa appointment. Fritz has an origami class and a skiing class as well. Fritz looks excited, but Miss Tilson is furious at this nuisance. Henry asks her to feel free of her obligations this week and also let him be on holiday. He cancels all of his meetings and is going to help the contractor, so he goes to the town to purchase the required tools. He asks Emily to join him. She does it happily. Henry is happy for her as she is out of her writer's block. They are enjoying each other's company. Henry attempts dancing. Emily mocks him. Henry says she is different from any person he has ever met. Everybody befriends him for a selfish reason. Emily is selfless in her interaction with him, and he values that. Miss Tilson isn't liking this new change in the prince. He is slacking in his royal duties. She rings the king to inform him of this. The king is already concerned as Henry has missed meetings. He asks Miss Tilson to expedite the selling of the chalet so that the prince returns to Concordia soon. Henry is enjoying learning how to cut sheets with the contractor when Miss Tilson gets back from her forced spa appointment. She says a potential buyer is dropping by any time now to view the chalet. Henry looks slightly upset. He says he will entertain the buyer himself. The buyer seems to like the place. Henry shows him around and tells him passionately about every nook of the chalet. Emily is beside him. She chips in and explains how perfect the chalet is with its large windows welcoming the sunlight. Henry can see that Emily appreciates the beauty of his late uncle's chalet as much as he does. He is alarmed upon hearing the buyer talking about making some changes to it. He wants to set up a home theater and block the large windows. Henry makes up all the lies about the downsides of the chalet in an attempt to change the buyer's mind. He says the roof leaks and the fireplace is malfunctioning. The buyer gives a confused laugh. He asks Henry to take more time to decide whether he wants to sell the chalet or not. Henry doesn't want to sell his favorite house to just anybody. The buyer should love this place the way it deserves to be loved. Henry is having a fun week, clearly. The next thing he wants to try is to change a light switch. Ms. Tilson forbids him lest he gets an electric shock. But there is nothing stopping him. He ends up short-circuiting the entire place. Emily cheerfully suggests to everyone to have a candlelight dinner. Fritz announces he has a date with his ski instructor. He is also having the time of his life this week. Henry asks Emily to join him for stargazing. Fritz has set up Uncle Chauncey's telescope on the balcony. Miss Tilson tries to hide her annoyance at Henry's daily shenanigans. Fritz says he has never seen Prince Henry this happy. Henry and Emily gaze at stars through the telescope while Henry can't stop reminiscing about his time with his uncle. He talks about him with so much love. To him, the chalet is like a happy place. Whoever enters this place can't escape from feeling joyful. Emily agrees. She says the chalet has helped her get out of a writer's rut. Now she only has to figure out the ending for her novel. Henry says all the stories should have a happy ending where the lovers end up together. We see a subtle and sweet attraction developing between the two. Emily asks him not to take the crown if he doesn't want it. Henry says he isn't as brave as she is. Emily looks sad at the impending parting of ways. Miss Tilson has tried her best to pull the prince back on track but failed. She calls the king for assistance. Princess Edwina seems to understand that her elder brother is getting cold feet. She wants the crown and for good reasons, of course. She knows he isn't interested in ruling. It is she who has it in her. Henry is at crossroads like his uncle once was. His uncle followed his own heart. Henry never expected to do that until now. He feels at home in this chalet and in the knowledge that he can also follow his heart. He opens up to Fritz, who seems to understand. Fritz thinks Henry's uncle was a wise man and he made the right choice. Henry wants to cook a meal for everyone tonight. He goes out with Emily to grab the ingredients. They are in the market and unaware that the stalker photographer has secretly taken their photos. They are at the dinner table when Henry asks for opinions on the meal he cooked. The meal isn't delicious at all, but no one wants to say so. Henry insists. Fritz dares and says the meat is hardly chewable like leather. Everybody looks at Henry, who has a flat expression. And then to everybody's relief, he bursts into laughter. We see Miss Tilson laugh for the first time. Henry is thankful to Emily for talking him into having a relaxed, fun week. Emily says she had a great time as well. She hands him a note to read once he lands in Concordia. Henry says he doesn't want to go to Concordia. He wants to stay here. He leans in to kiss Emily. Before they could kiss, Henry's father arrives. He has come to talk some sense into his son. Henry tries to make him see that Edwina is the best choice for the crown. She proactively leads charity campaigns and is multilingual. In short, she is everything a queen needs to be. The king doesn't want to listen. Henry is the one who is supposed to be the next king, and nothing will change that from happening. The coronation can't wait until the following week as per schedule. So the king has arranged the ceremony to be held a day after tomorrow in the USA instead of Concordia. The Concordian embassy will sell the chalet, so Henry isn't needed for this task anymore. Emily video calls Becca and tells her what is going on in the chalet. She says she is in love with Henry. Becca tells her about the headlines circulating about Henry. He is going to be engaged soon to Beatrix. There are photos of him with Emily in the market making news at the same time. Emily is devastated hearing about Beatrix. She decides to pack her belongings and leave. She bids farewell to Henry, saying she doesn't want to stand in the way of his call of duty. The king commends Emily for being mature enough to get out of Henry's way. He says his nation needs him the most. Fritz gifts Emily an origami and thanks her for making him meet his girlfriend. Miss Tilson admits that Emily has been a breath of fresh air in their time at the chalet. She hugs Emily, who says goodbye and leaves to return to Boulder. Emily has finished her novel and sent it to her publisher. Becca is happy to have her back with a finished book finally. She is also sorry for all the mess she caused in Emily's life. Emily says she had the best time in the chalet, so Becca shouldn't be sorry for providing her with a chance to be in love. Today is the day of coronation. Henry is going through his speech. He looks glum and distracted. His father knows what is on his mind. It's Emily. The king did find her a very charming and smart lady, but it is a sacrifice Henry must make for his nation. Henry remembers the note Emily gave him. He reads it. Emily has asked him to never doubt his courage and to carve the life he truly wants. Emily has forgotten her ideal book in the chalet. She needs to go back to get it. She isn't aware of the change in coronation plans and assumes the chalet would be vacant by now. She arrives at the chalet and finds some royal staff members outside of it. She curiously follows them to a nearby chapel. The coronation ceremony is taking place in it. She hides behind a flag and sees Henry making his speech. He says Concordia needs an honest king and he isn't the one. His heart is somewhere else. He announces that his sister is the best candidate for the crown. Edwina happily takes it. Everyone is happy to have her as their queen. The king seems to be okay with the way things are unfolding. Henry sees Emily and runs to her. He tells her that he is going to stay and reside with her in his favorite place, the Winter Palace.